Hey guys, thanks for stopping by Ballistic Barbecue. Another installation of Ballistic Baker. Today what I'm going to be making is chocolate brownies, and I'm going to cook them outdoors in one of my cookers. It's a published recipe. I didn't come up with the actual recipe, but I am making it my own by kicking it up a few notches with some, added goodies in it, I guess. I've done a couple other videos where I have baked, outdoors, and I was asked actually this morning by a buddy of mine who I told I was, that I was going to do this, if there were any advantages to cooking these things outdoors. I mean, obviously there's a cool factor for your guests, if you're having a cookout or whatever. When I started doing this was basically, I'd finish a cook and I'd notice all this, this leftover usable charcoal burning. And I just didn't like to see it going to waste. It's like, why give money to the gas and electric company when I can cook it outdoors? So what I do is I keep those break and bake cookie dough things on hand, and when I'm done with a cook, if there's any leftover heat there, I'll bake cookies. And I've noticed that there is a very nice, pleasant flavor change. It's not drastic. You won't taste it and think, oh my god, this tastes awful, it's real smoky. There is a very nice, pleasant change to the flavor, though. I also think it's a cool skill to have just for emergency situations. I mean, if our power goes down here, I'm confident that I can bake anything outdoors that you guys can cook in your ovens. So I think it's a good skill set to have. Anyway, enough blabbering. Let's go ahead and get on with the recipe. Okay, so in a bowl, I'm going to be adding 1/2 cup or 1 stick of very, very soft butter. 1 cup of sugar, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and I mix this up. All right, now I'm going to set this aside, grab another bowl. All right, bowl number 2, 1/2 cup all-purpose flour, 1/2 cup unsweetened cocoa powder, 1/4 teaspoon baking powder, 1/4 teaspoon salt. Just get this all mixed up. Okay, we're going to gradually add this to the mix here, the dry ingredients to the wet ingredients. All right, now we're going to go ahead and attach this to the mixer. All right, so bowl's attached to the mixer, and I'm just basically going to mix this until it's smooth and all the lumps are removed. All right, it's all nice and mixed up now. Here's where, like I said, I'm going to kick it up to where I want it. I've got nice semi-sweet chocolate chunks here. If you like chocolate chips are great, whatever. I want this big giant chunks in this. Now, I'm a big fan of pecans, so I'm throwing in some chopped pecans, walnuts, macadamia nuts, whatever. Now my little guy, Garrett, big marshmallow fan. Of course, these are little marshmallows. I'm throwing in 1/2 cup of miniature marshmallows. If I didn't say, basically it was 1/2 cup of all 3 of these things. I wasn't really paying attention to myself. And all this stuff I just want to mix in by hand with this scraper here. All right, batter's done. Now let's get in the baking dish. All right, now 9 by 9 baking dish. Use a muffin pan, whatever floats your boat. These things would be good as like in a muffin too. And I'm just gonna pour this in. Obviously the next step is just going to simply spread this stuff out. Just try to get it, as even as you can. And there we have it. Before I started mixing all this stuff, I actually went out and started getting my cookers ready, okay? I lit the lump in my egg and I lit the charcoal in my Weber. brought them up to temp. You want to make sure that you get that temperature adjusted before you get out there. You don't want to have to fiddle around with the dampers, you know, right at the beginning of your cook. Now, I realize that the minute you open the lids up, all that heat's going to escape, but you have to realize you're saturating, in the case of the Weber, the metal lid with all that heat, and the egg, it's saturating all that ceramic with the heat. So once you get those lids back on, it's not going to take hardly any time at all to get it up to that desired temperature. And you want to kind of get an idea where your dampers are set. That way, again, you're not going to get those crazy drops and spikes in your temperature during this bake. So anyway, let's get outside and we'll start these brownies cooking here. All right, so the Weber here. Now, how you want to arrange your Weber whenever you're baking, or at least how I do it, is I'm going to line the inner perimeter of the kettle here with the charcoal. You don't need a whole lot of charcoal, but you know, you want it very tight to the outer wall. Now you can see it is lit, but not completely lit. I'm not really concerned about that. They're going to ignite each other like a fuse. And the way it is now, if I put the lid on, I'm very confident that I'd be able to reach that 350 degree temperature that I'd be looking for, you know, with the dampers fully opened. What I would do is place the pan with the brownie mix in the center, then bam, put on the lid, let it bake. Anyway, let's go ahead and go to the egg. All right, now for the egg, again, you want to get that temperature set before you start the actual bake. Reliable temperature probe on whatever gear you're cooking on. I like to use the digital thermometers. They're a lot more reliable than the analogs. So 350. I'm going to check this in about 20 minutes, and what I want to see is the brownie pulling away from the walls of the baking dish. So we'll check it in about 20. Alright, so 20 minutes have passed, and there we go. Now, although it looks pretty darn good, I mean, I'd love to just grab a spoon and start chomping. You can see it's still looking kind of wet. I want to see it pull away from these edges here, so I'm going to give it another 5 minutes and I'll check it out. Alright guys, so it actually took an additional 10 minutes to finish. It's done now. As you can see, it's separating from the sides of the wall, and it's nice and set up in the center. So what I'm going to do is remove this from the cooker, and I'll take it inside the house, put it on a rack, let it cool down before we cut this bad boy up. Alright guys, so here they are. I just decided to, with all the sweetness that I added, I didn't want to add any frosting, so I think that just a little powdered sugar did the trick. As I'm sure many of you guys that do a lot more baking than I do predicted, the marshmallows melted. But the nice little surprise was they left little kind of sweet gooey pockets inside. Anyway, very good, very moist. Not too sweet. It's I'm happy with it. Anyway guys, the whole point of this video was just to let you know grills aren't just for grilling steaks. Sorry. Have fun, get adventurous, and just mess around, man. It's the best way to learn. Anyway, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.